Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Wolverine is one of the most horrific superheroes to begin with that we have in the Marvel Universe. Pretty much every chapter that we have uncovered of his origins and his backstory thus far is like a little mini horror story in and of itself. The first time his powers manifested, it was because his biological father had murdered his adoptive father. Drama. He was even living with a pack of wolves for a time after retreating from the cruelty and awful experiences that he'd had in the mortal world. Only for those wolves to be brutally murdered themselves. What is happening? Just all of that sounds like it could be its own horror film. Pretty much everything that's happened to Wolverine could be in a horror film, I think. So it's not surprising that Wolverine has also had some pretty chilling stories to call his own throughout the years, away from his origins and his backstory. Today we'll take a look at some of those stories involving characters from other comic titles, as we count down the top 10 scary Wolverine crossover comics. And if you're new to the channel, I'm Amanda McKnight, and I'll be your host for this video. Also, if you are watching this video, you may have noticed by now that my setting is a little different today. That's because I am currently filming from home. This is Lola, and this is Pablo, my co-hosts. In this video anyways. To keep everyone safe, we here at Top 10 Nerd have currently shut down the studio that we normally film in. So this will be my setting for at least the next 14 days. But I could also be filming from my comfy couch a bit longer as well. However, if there's one thing you can be assured of, it is that we will still keep creating all of this good nerdy content for you. So don't go anywhere. In fact, if you haven't subscribed yet, don't be shy, smash that subscribe. And welcome to the Nerd Squad family. So happy to have you. And let me know in the comments where you're from and how you're holding up in regards to the virus. What has changed for you? Because I want to know. We want to know. How are you doing? Hopefully you are all hanging in there during these really challenging times. It's rough, but you know what? We can do it. And we have all the time to read comics. Ha ha ha. All right, enough of this other stuff. Let's go back to talking comics and let's get counting. Number 10, Wolverine/She, Dark Knight of Judgment and Judgment Knight. She is Anna Ishikawa, a skilled martial artist of half Japanese and half American descent. After her parents' gruesome death, she was raised by her grandfather and trained in the ways of martial arts. From then on, she vowed to avenge her parents' death. She was created by Billy Tucci and is from Crusade Comics. In their crossover, her and Wolverine are caught up in a war together, but they end up fighting over a coin from her necklace. Wolverine wants it, but it's all that she has left to remember her family by. And it also appears during the fight that he nearly kills She, stabbing her through the chest with his claws. But at the end of Judgment Night, the sequel to their fight, you will find readers actually get rules to play a choose-your-own-adventure style combat fight sort of game with an opponent where you will flip between character pages and panels. Do you think a fight between the two would actually end with Wolverine killing She? Well, it's up to you to play through and decide. Number 9. What if Wolverine battled Conan the Barbarian? The question we've all been asking ourselves, am I right? One of the scary things about this comic is all of the faces that Wolverine makes. He makes some pretty crazy faces. This story involves Wolverine crossing paths with, and of course, battling Conan the Barbarian. And bonus barbarian, Red Sonja. In fact, Red Sonja even appears to die in this what if, despite not fighting very much. But don't worry, she gets better. The comic ends with Wolverine cutting off Conan's hand before riding off into the sunset with Red Sonja, who he initially mistakes for Jean, because apparently all redheads look the same in the world of comic books. I feel like this happens all the time in comics. She has red hair. Is it Mary Jane? Is it Jean Grey? Is it one of the many redheads in these comics that look different? No, not all redheads look the same, guys. Also, Red Sonja always seems to look like someone in the comic for some reason. Number 8, Deathblow/Wolverine. This Wildstorm and Marvel crossover is a two-parter that involves Wolverine and Deathblow teaming up to take on an ancient order known as the Triad, who is responsible for possessing innocent people from San Francisco's Chinatown. Ugh, possession. Ugh. Scary. The ninjas and the powerful forces controlling them combined threaten the very lives of our heroes in this action-packed crossover. One thing that isn't scary about this one though, how stunning all the minimalist artwork is. Oh my gosh. There's so much pretty line work in this one. If you don't want to read it for like just the awesomeness of this story, you should read it for the awesomeness of the art. Or at least look at it. At least be like, so pretty. Number 7, Wolverine and Jubilee Cursed. This is a 4-issue miniseries story arc that is part of a greater story involving the X-Men versus Dracula and his legion of vampires, known as the Curse of the Mutants. In fact, during the story, Jubilee herself gets turned into a vampire, which she actually enjoys, as this transformation gives her back her powers. Oh, BT dubs, she actually didn't have her powers at this time before that happened. She was depowered at the time, you see. The 4-part miniseries involves Jubilee getting kidnapped by a hot vampire lady, and Wolverine having to track her down and save her, kind of by delivering a parcel, but you know how it goes. The greater arc also involves the X-Men teaming up with famous vampire and vampire hunter, Blade. We all love ourselves some Blade, don't we? Number 6, Witchblade / Wolverine. Okay, so maybe the weirdest on my list. In this comic, Logan marries Witchblade randomly in Las Vegas. Yep, that happens. But the two also lose their memory. Ooh, scary memory loss. And they're forced to fight Kaylee, a mutant who has armed herself with the Witchblade, as Sarah Pizzini has now apparently lost it. Kaylee is driven insane by the Witchblade and actually ends up being used by a criminal to attack the Lovebirds, as her boss is seeking revenge on the NYP detective, Sarah. Detective by day, Witchblade by night. This may sound like some messed up nightmare, but I can assure you, this isn't a completely real story. It happened. I mean, it didn't really happen, but it happened in a comic book, you know what I mean? And you definitely need to read it. Oh, did I also mention that Chris Claremont wrote this? Yes. Go read it right now. The outfits are enough of a reason for you to read this story, let me tell you. Number 5, Wolverine versus Morgan Le Fey. I thought I'd see these two fight, but here we are. You can find this crossover and fight in the Wolverine Annual from 2019. Set in 1930s Hollywood, Wolverine is forced to fight against Morgan Le Fey in order to protect his lady love, aspiring film actress Celia Stroud, who ends up being manipulated by a cult that Morgan herself leads. Not only is this an intriguing story, so no major spoilers here in this description in case you want to read it, but the artwork and the colors in this comic are also stunning, with artwork by Jerilu Borges and colors by Marcio Menez and Miroslav Merva. Also, apologies if I said any of those names wrong. I'm sorry. Number 4, Devil's Reign. Another crossover from Top Cow Comics, this creepy story involves Wolverine teaming up with both Ballistic, herself a skilled marksman with a cybernetic arm from Cyberforce, and later on Witchblade again. Or really, before. This series happened before the story where Logan and Witchblade get married. The idea behind this story is that Mephisto wants the power of the Witchblade for himself, and everyone else is trying to stop him. Now, why does Mephisto want the power of the Witchblade? Because 90s. Everybody wanted the Witchblade back then. It was a hot item. I wanted a Witchblade back then. And I was a little baby. Number 3, The Pack. This monster crossover story arc actually takes place in Wolverine's own series, Wolverine First Class. It starts in issue 10. In it, Wolverine gets bitten by a beautiful and apparently injured woman. Is she injured though? He offered her assistance and later finds out her name is Nyssa, while he and Kitty Pryde are up in the wilderness at Pryde's parents' cabin. Wolverine was actually in the midst of training Kitty Pryde on survival tactics and navigation. Nyssa turns out to be a werewolf though, and Wolverine finds himself also transformed into one and forced to run with the same pack that Nyssa belongs to. Oh no! How will he get out of this one? Will it be through his, magical healing blood? You're gonna have to read it to find out. Number 2, Hulkverines. Wolverine and Hulk team up to take on Weapon H in this 3-part miniseries. Weapon H isn't an organization, but instead is the codename for a character known as Clayton Cortez. Clayton is an ex-military merc in the story who turned on his employers and as a result was captured and sold as a test subject to the Weapon X program, formerly known as the Weapon Plus program. They experimented on him and turned him into a Wolverine Hulk hybrid, known by many different codenames including H-Alpha, Weapon H, and you guessed it, Hulkverine. Throughout the series, Hulk and Wolverine fight against him, but also work to help free him from Weapon X and villain leaders' control, though they too will undergo monstrous transformations during the series. Can you guess what they'll be transformed into? Will it be Hulkverines? Number 1, Legends of the Dark Claw. Dark Claw comes to us from Amalgam Comics and is a crossover involving Batman and Wolverine, though not in the individual sense. Amalgam Comics was actually all about mashing up characters to create new ones. So, in other words, Wolverine plus Batman equals the character Darkclaw, and Darkclaw is whom this story is about. Legends of the Darkclaw involves our hero taking on his foe Hyena, a mashup of the villain Sabretooth and Joker, joined by his trusty sidekick Sparrow. Darkclaw would actually go on to appear in a few other issues of Marvel and DC's collaboration comics, and is known in the Marvelverse as belonging to Earth 9602, which is also known as the Amalgamverse. It's nice and tidy, and it's organized. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope that you found some fun stories to read through or perhaps return to on the list if you've already read them. What are some of your favorite Wolverine stories? Who would you like to see Wolverine team up with or fight? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And please, please, please also let us know how you're holding up in these wild and crazy times. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, still reminding you, even from home, to stay nerdy, YouTube.